Two men. One room. 70,000 nuclear weapons pointed at each other. And two briefcases sitting outside the door. Each one able to end the world. This is the Brink of War. And it's a true story. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Jeff Daniels, Jared Harris, J.K. Simmons. A true story most people have genuinely never heard of. 36 hours that came closer to ending nuclear weapons entirely than almost anyone realizes. The Brink of War. In theaters now. Let's break down exactly what happened. Written and directed by Michael Russell Gunn in his feature directorial debut. Distributed by Angel Studios. The film dramatizes the real 1986 Reykjavík Summit, a face-to-face meeting between US President Ronald Reagan and Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev held in Iceland at the height of the Cold War. Jeff Daniels plays Ronald Reagan. Jared Harris plays Mikhail Gorbachev. J.K. Simmons plays Secretary of State George Shultz. Hope Davis plays Nancy Reagan. Branka Katic plays Raisa Gorbachev. Aya Kash, Guy Burnett, John Ross Bowie, Adrian Rollins. This film's origin is genuinely personal. Director Michael Russell Gunn has said, the idea came directly from a real conversation with the actual George Shultz, who told him the full story of the Reykjavík Summit himself. Gunn had never heard of it before. The finished film is dedicated to Shultz's memory. It's 1986, the height of the Cold War. The United States and the Soviet Union have roughly 70,000 nuclear weapons pointed at each other combined. Reagan has just announced plans to develop the Strategic Defense Initiative, a missile defense shield nicknamed Star Wars. That single announcement is enough to bring Gorbachev to the negotiating table. In the remote city of Reykjavík, Iceland, Reagan travels for what's planned as a 36-hour meeting with Soviet Premier Gorbachev, the first time the two leaders have ever sat down face-to-face outside the meeting room, according to Shultz's own account. That inspired this film. Military officers stand by holding the nuclear launch codes for each country. Literally, the power to end everything, waiting just outside the door. What starts as a fairly standard set of diplomatic greetings quickly reveals something nobody in the room expected. Gorbachev appears genuinely willing to discuss real reductions to the nuclear stockpile. Reagan floats a 25% cut. Gorbachev counters with 50%. Reagan pushes further still, suggesting they eliminate nuclear weapons entirely. Gorbachev tells him he believes they can actually do that too. Suddenly, two men from completely opposite ends of the political spectrum, each representing his own nation, fiercely find themselves drafting the outline of a treaty that could eliminate. But one single issue keeps threatening to unravel everything. Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative. Gorbachev wants it confined strictly to laboratory research. Reagan refuses to give it up. As the film puts it directly, the one thing standing between zero nuclear weapons and continued global risk is a missile shield neither side is willing to compromise on. Beyond the headline nuclear negotiations, the talks also cover smaller, more human bargaining points, including a request for the sister of famed Russian cellist Mstislav Rostropovich to be allowed to travel to America for his birthday. It's a small, telling detail, even history-altering negotiations. Running alongside the main negotiations is a quieter subplot involving Nancy Reagan and Raisa Gorbachev, each one aware of the other's public image, each one navigating her own careful, unspoken, public relations rivalry. Critics have specifically praised Brancacati's performance as Raisa, watchful, sharp, and image-conscious, described by more than one reviewer as the funniest, canniest performance in the entire film. In the film's final 30 minutes, the tension reaches its peak. Reagan and Gorbachev go back and forth, repeatedly over the Strategic Defense Initiative, each man refusing to fully budge, even as the outline of history's most sweeping nuclear treaty sits right in front of them. Neither man is willing to be the one who gives in. In the end, talks collapse. No treaty gets signed that day. Reagan and Gorbachev leave Reykjavík without the historic agreement that, for one brief stretch of hours, had genuinely seemed within reach. By any conventional measure, the summit is a failure. But the film's most effective idea is also its simplest one. Failure doesn't always mean nothing was accomplished. Historically, the framework built at Reykjavík directly paved the way for the following year's Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, a real signed agreement between the United States and the Soviet Union. That eliminated an entire category of nuclear weapons for the first time. The meeting didn't succeed that day. It changed everything that came after. One detail that gives this film real historical weight. Shultz gave direct-to-Gunn access to declassified transcripts from the actual Reykjavik meetings that allowed Gunn to lift dialogue directly from the real conversations into the finished script, grounding even the most dramatic. Critics have singled out both lead performances specifically. Daniels plays Reagan with restraint, avoiding an overly theatrical or mythologized take on the president. Harris plays Gorbachev as more aloof and unreadable, a deliberate choice, reviewers note, that keeps the audience guessing, right alongside Reagan himself. So how's the movie actually landing? Reception has been genuinely mixed. Some critics called it a minor miracle that a film built almost entirely around two men talking in one room actually works. Others found it dutifully drab, visually flat, and limited by a first-time director's handling of what is structurally a very talky film. Several reviewers also noted the film leans somewhat more toward the American perspective throughout the negotiations, without, in most critics' view, tipping into outright unfairness toward Gorbachev's side of the table. It's worth knowing going in, especially if you're specifically interested in how even-handedly. Multiple reviews compared this film directly to 2024's Reagan, starring Dennis Quaid, biopic that received largely negative reviews. Variety specifically called this a more substantial portrayal of Reagan than that earlier film, even while noting he remains, in their words, a less dynamic subject for cinema than some other American presidents. So, is The Brink of War worth watching if you want a tense, dialogue-driven, historical drama about a real moment that came closer to changing the world than most people ever learned about? This delivers exactly that, anchored by two genuinely restrained, committed performances. Just know, going in, this is a talky, room-bound film, not a big spectacle history piece. The Brink of War, in theaters now. Written and directed by Michael Russell Gunn, starring Jeff Daniels and Jared Harris, distributed by Angel Studios, rated PG, 1 hour and 57 minutes. 36 hours in Reykjavík, that quietly reshaped the rest of the Cold War. That's the complete breakdown of The Brink of War. Thanks for watching this one all the way through. These historical drama recaps are honestly some of my favorites to make. If you enjoyed it, drop a like. It genuinely helps the channel way more than you'd think. And if you want more recaps like this, subscribe so you never miss the next one. See you in the next video.